Almost all the marriages in my family have been arranged marriages. My mom's marriage to my bio dad was an arranged marriage, but it ended up in a messy divorce and him completely abandoning us before I was even born. My mom had a love marriage the second time, despite the disapproval of her family, and has been much happier with my stepdad than she probably would have ever been with my bio dad. Because of this, my mom has always been very adamant that she would not try to force us, my siblings and I, into arranged marriages despite what the rest of our family thought. I've been with my fiancé for 3 years now. We got engaged 2 months ago. He's met my parents and siblings, but as far as the majority of my extended family were concerned, I was single until 2 months ago. Early last year, my fiancé dropped me off home after work one day and my uncle was there. My uncle is the oldest sibling my mom has, so he's seen as the head of the family. He thinks he has a say in what the rest of us do. It was obvious my uncle was pissed, and he ended up grilling my fiancé, and I assume he met his standards. A lot of arranged marriages are about what both families can gain from one another, so he told my mom to get us married quickly. He wanted to make it look like we had an arranged marriage before the rest of our family found out. My mom ignored him and told us to keep dating if it's what we wanted. Over the past year, he's mentioned me getting married to my mom every single time he's spoken to her. Apparently, my uncle assumed just because he'd given the order that we were going to get married soon. He told my cousin, his daughter, that I had agreed to an arranged marriage, and because I had and she was older, she should agree to the match he'd found her. My cousin never mentioned this to me, but she did agree to marry the man my uncle found for her. They got married late last year. They haven't had a good marriage and my cousin is very unhappy. Her husband is incredibly controlling and hardly ever lets her go anywhere without him or a member of his family. Last week, she was over at my house when my fiancé came over to drop some of the clothes I'd left at his place over. When I told my family about my engagement, they all assumed it was an arranged marriage and I didn't bother clarifying because it really isn't anyone's business. You don't tend to do sleepovers if you're having an arranged marriage, so my cousin knew immediately it wasn't what she assumed. She started asking me questions about my relationship and I answered honestly. She got really angry at me and kept demanding to know why I didn't tell her about him. The thing is, I'm very close to this cousin, but I also know how our family is about dating and I didn't want my male cousins trying to strong-arm my fiancé. They've jokingly threatened this before. She pretty much blamed me for her arranged marriage and said she only agreed because she thought I was going to have one too, and if I had told her I had a boyfriend, she would have had the courage to stand up to her family. She hasn't spoken to me since. I do feel bad for her. I know how unhappy she is, but if she had mentioned what my uncle told her earlier, I would have clarified. I don't want this to be the end of our relationship, but I don't know what I can do to fix this. I met this guy about 18 months ago, and we've been together since. He knows about my employment history, and he said that he has no issue with it. Though he did ask me to tell his family the white lie I occasionally use on my CV and stuff, which is that I was a waitress. A month ago we found out that I'm 2 months pregnant. He says this is great news, and we should move in together. I assumed he'd be moving into my place because he rents his far smaller 1-bedroom flat while I own mine. And I have room for a baby's room while he doesn't. Also, I really don't want to leave my flat. It's my flat, I love it, I could see myself living here for the rest of my life. And I don't want to lose the security of owning a flat and have to go back to paying rent or a mortgage each month. However, he then said that he didn't want to move into my place, and said I should sell it and we buy a place together. I said that I like my place, it means a lot to me that I was able to buy it. And it represents years of working my arse off scrimping and saving. He then said that he understands all of that, but we should be living together by the time the baby comes, and he didn't want to live in my flat. I asked him why not. It's a great flat, it's central to everything, it's spacious, it's got room for all his stuff. There's a daycare in the building, run / owned by another tenant, and a school 5-minute walk away, the list goes on. And he said that he didn't want to live in a flat that was bought with stripper money. That really pissed me off, and I told him no. Why am I selling my flat, and that he never had an issue with my stripper money paying for this flat before now? I said I wasn't giving up the security of owning a home for someone who tries to make me feel ashamed about something I don't feel ashamed of. He said that his point is if I sold the flat then we could get a new place with the money from the sale. I said, wouldn't that still be stripper money? And he said that's different, and I asked how. He then said he was going back to his place because I can't talk to you when you're in this state. He's gone back to his flat now and he's texted me saying I'm overreacting / irrational and I need to think of this realistically, rather than emotionally. He says he wouldn't feel right raising a child in my flat knowing how I purchased it and selling back / moving is the best idea of all of us, not to mention the fact he isn't on the deed because it's my place and it would never feel like our place because of this. I feel I might be the arse because I get why he might feel like it's just my place and I feel I'm being too rigid in a time we need to work together. Plus I spoke to my sister and she sided with him, so 2 out of 3 people think I'm in the wrong here. I dumped him. There was a whole conversation and during the conversation he said he didn't want to be a parent if I wasn't willing to do everything he wanted, including sharing a house back / deed, plus staying together. Also, at the start of the conversation I said what a few people suggested, which was that I'd be willing to sell and split the house with him, provided he paid 50%, and he got very, very angry. Very, very quickly. He also said a few other things, how it's all going to pan out just yet, but it looks like I'm going to be a single mother. I am a 45 years old woman, my husband and I have a 15-aunt daughter Kate and a 9-year-old son Sam. My husband has a brother and a 40-year-old sister, Eva. Eva and her husband James have a daughter, Allegra. She is also 15 years old. Kate and Allegra have always been compared in the family. From the time they were born, it seemed to be a competition of who would walk first, talk first, do more, achieve more. And Allegra was always first. I won't go too much into detail about Allegra because that's not really the point, but I will say she's a beautiful, intelligent, truly one-of-a-kind girl and her parents have done a great job raising her. My in-laws fell in love with her and think she hung the moon. This bothered me and made me sad for Kate, but I let it go for the most part. There's no doubt in my mind that they love all the kids equally, but out of the 2 girls you can tell who they admire more. Every summer, the whole family visits a holiday home that Eva shares with my in-laws. Over the summer, Kate met a boy, Luke, who was also holidaying in the area. They started dating. This was Kate's first experience with boys. Allegra had friends who were nearby, so for our first few weeks we didn't see her much. About 3 / 4 of the way through the holiday, Kate invited the boy she'd been seeing to dinner. Allegra was told to come and afterwards she would be going to a party. At the dinner, it was clear that Luke was very attracted to Allegra. After dinner, Luke decided he would go to the party Allegra was going to as he had also been invited. They both asked Kate to go, but she wasn't allowed and was very upset. My husband and I felt it was not a safe or appropriate environment at her age. Eva informed us, because she knows we do not allow Kate into these environments, that it was an adult party, where there would be drinking and possibly other things going on. Allegra has grown up in a place where these kind of things are much more normal. And Eva and her husband made the choice to let Allegra live those experiences. From what I know and have seen, she handles it exceptionally and it has not caused any issues. However, it is not the way we have chosen to parent Kate, and so we didn't allow her to go. The next morning, Allegra came downstairs and asked to talk to me and Eva. She said at the party Luke was flirting with her and showed her some messages he'd sent her. We decided we would all talk to Kate. Kate spent the next 2 days miserable. When she finally came out of her room, Kate was caustic and everyone was getting a bit fed up with her attitude. Eventually, my father-in-law jokingly said, "Your mistake was introducing him to Allegra. How did you think that was going to go for you?" My mother-in-law told him off but added that Luke handled it terribly, but the outcome was sort of inevitable. Kate left the table in tears. We managed to get through the rest of the holiday, but when my husband brought up plans for Christmas, Kate refused to go. She said she couldn't bear being ridiculed by her own family and constantly compared to Allegra. After seeing how much this was affecting her, I spoke to my husband and said we shouldn't go. He argued that it would be wrong to let Kate take away time with family just because of a boy. I reminded him that this has been happening since they were born, but he said that we can't shield Kate from every special person in the world. He said he would talk to his parents about their comments, but that we should not set a precedent of letting Kate run away from reality. I've had this crush on my coworker for a few months now, and it's really not good. We only see each other in passing, and he's only talked to me once about something work-related. Even though we don't talk, we do look at each other sometimes, so we notice each other's existence. He's very outgoing and friendly with other people on my team. He's also very attractive. I enjoy being around him, but I'm way too nervous to talk to him. Honestly, I basically just admire him from afar. I'm not interested in a relationship with anyone right now, partially because I need therapy to heal from past relationships first. So I'm definitely not trying to be together with him. I just like him. This wouldn't be so bad, except it's become unhealthy for me. Whenever he's around, I get so overwhelmed that it's difficult to concentrate on my work. Sometimes I have to walk away and take deep breaths to calm down. I just get so nervous and preoccupied with my thoughts. I realize this sounds ridiculous, it is. I also can't stop thinking about him. It seems like I spend the entire day looking forward to seeing him, then once he's gone I feel empty and sad. I recognize this is really unhealthy and potentially creepy. I work with some good friends and I genuinely enjoy their company. I also like my job a lot, so it's not that work is boring without him. I'm actually a very talkative and happy person with everyone else. I really want to get over these feelings because they're useless and only hurting me. To be honest, this isn't the first coworker I've felt this way about. At my last job, I also had a crush on my manager and it was on the same unhealthy level. So I feel like becoming fixated on people is a reoccurring problem, and I really would like to know how I can change this pattern.